Hi guys. Okay, so recently I've had a lot of people ask me how I manage my schedule with all the cars that I have coming in and out throughout the day and throughout the week. And so the short answer to this question is that I don't use any external programs or third-party applications, not for my messaging, not for my schedule management or anything like that. And that's probably because I do this full time, so I'm 100% of my focus is on this, so I have never felt the need to have anything. Even when I had 20 cars listed, which is the most cars I've ever had, I still never used anything. But today was a really good example of having multiple rentals going on at the same time. I had 3 bookings, all last minute bookings for people going out to the big CES convention in Vegas. All 3 were for 10 a.m. pickup times, which is, the time that usually people book cars for because that is the default time on Turo. So often people just leave it as is. So what I did was I was up early, drank lots of coffee. All 3 cars that were going out at 10 a.m., I wanted to wash one time and kind of have them freshly clean and gassed up so that they're ready for their trip. So by 7 a.m., I was already at the car wash and getting all 3 cars ready. And what I did was around 8:30, I messaged all of my renters and I let them know that in case they wanted to pick up the car early, it would be ready as early as 9 a.m. And then I always request that they let me know when they're en route, and once they are, to let me know what their ETA is so I can be ready with the cars, and so that the guest doesn't have to wait. What I recently found out, and hopefully somebody out there can be my Jamie and fact check this, but I'm pretty positive that this is accurate. You can hand off a car to a renter up to an hour before the start time, and it would still fall into the window of coverage. So that's why I offered 9 a.m. for all of the 10 a.m. pickups. Now, what I find is that 99% of the time, people are usually about 10 minutes late. 1% of the time, people are perfectly on time, and so you have usually mostly people that are late and very rare that people are on time. So even though you have rentals scheduled all at the same time, it's usually works out fine because no one ever is really on time and they all show up at different timings. So today's scenario, the first guy showed up at 9:50, so he was a little bit early. So he took advantage of the car being available earlier. The second guy got here exactly at 10:10, and then the third guy got here at 10:30. So it kind of worked out nicely. They were all spaced out evenly. So if you ever have rentals going on at the same time and you're personally the one handing it off, that's one way to sort of offset it. Just offer your guests the option of picking it up early. I'm losing my train of thought today, but for those of you that are looking for a app to help you sort of automate things, the only one that I'm really aware of that I know that other hosts use often is the Street Smarts app, and that one is to help you automate your messaging. I'm not sure what else all it entails. I've never used it or looked into it, but that's by far the most common one that I've heard of, a go-to app for a host on the platform. And then aside from that, the only thing that I use is probably Google Calendar, but that's mostly for if I need to schedule car payments or maintenances that might be coming up, or registrations that might need to be paid with a lot of cars. That stuff, like the administrative stuff, kind of gets hard to manage. So that stuff I'll put on calendar. I'll have reminders set, so I give myself plenty of notice to get that stuff taken care of on time. I also believe, I know that this used to be a thing, I think it still is, that you can actually sync up your Turo account to your Google Calendar or your iCalendar as well, and it will automatically input your reservations into your calendars and set up notifications and remind you when you have rentals coming up. But for me, all I do is the night before, right before I go to bed, I always check my schedule for the next day so I know exactly what's going on, in case I have back-to-back rentals or I need to ask a renter to be a little bit flexible with timing, which 99.9% of the time, if you need a renter to be flexible, especially if it's by just a small margin, they definitely will be. I've never really met a renter who wasn't flexible, you know, unless someone was really in a time crunch and had to be somewhere. So I'll check my schedule the night before, and so I know exactly what's going on the next day. And then in the morning, right when I wake up, that's the first thing I'll do again, is check the schedule, just in case I got any bookings overnight, which does for sure happen. So that's kind of how today went. Also, in the last 24 hours, I've probably gotten about 13 new bookings, which I'm super happy about because January started off really slow, and these were all bookings for January. I think one was for February. So it does look like Turo is probably spinning up their advertising and marketing dollars right now for there to be like such a sudden influx of rentals. So as always, just make sure that your listings are all configured correctly and that your settings look good, because you should be seeing bookings coming in for the month of January and February as well. That's all I have for you guys today. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, leave me your questions and comments and I will definitely get back to them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Bye.